everyone. So today I am going to start a very important unit, that is genetics, and it is very important from both. It is very important from both board point of view and entrance point of view. And weightage of questions coming in previous classes from both from the unit as a whole in both boards and entrance. So, and this topic is very interesting because you don't have to go for parrot learning. It's conceptual based. Once you go into the depth, you will enjoy learning it. So hope so you enjoy in the way I teach you. So let's begin. So today I will deal with our first chapter, that is first chapter of the unit genetics, that is principles and inheritance of variation. So this is the first chapter under the unit genetics, okay, and the fifth chapter from your NCERT book. So first, what is genetics? So genetics is the term that originated from the Greek word genesis. So genetic is the word that originated from the Greek word genesis, which means origin. So genetic word is derived from the Greek word genesis, which means origin. Basically, genetics is the science dealing with study of heredity plus variation. So simply, if you are asked what is genetics, you will simply say that it is the study of genetic and it is the study of heredity and variation. But coming to the depth, what is heredity and what is variation? So basically, heredity is the transmission of characters from parents to offsprings. So whenever the word heredity comes in our mind, we should keep in mind that heredity is the transmission of characters from parents to offsprings. Okay, so genetics is the study of heredity plus variation, and heredity itself means transmission of characters from parents to offspring. Now the word variation means differences. Okay, differences that occurs between parents and offsprings parents and progeny or offsprings and between progeny. So variation implies the differences which like between parents and offsprings and also between the progeny of same individual. Okay, so ami sabo gole ki hoy we do not look completely similar to our parents, although we have mixture of both characters from both of them. So although we have the same parent, although we are having the same parent, but like we are having the same parent and our siblings are also having the same parent, we don't look similar, okay, until and unless we are twins or there are some other factors. So variation is simply the differences that occurs between the parents and offsprings and also between the progeny. So variation is very important because variation gives rise to adaptability. It is the variation that helps the organism to survive, okay, that helps the organism to survive in an environment, okay, it helps the organism to adapt to the environment. So variation is very important because it increases the survival or adaptability to the environment, or simply it helps in adjusting to the environment, okay. And variations are always due to sexual reproduction, and variation always act as an advantage to an organism, okay. So genetics is the study of heredity and variation. Heredity is the transmission of characters from parents to offsprings. On the other hand, variation is the differences between parents and offsprings and also between the progeny of same parents, okay. So this is the basic point. There is another point, that is inheritance. What is inheritance? Don't be confused between heredity and inheritance. Inheritance, it is the process of transmission of characters from parents to offspring. So we should be very clear with heredity and inheritance. Heredity is the transmission of character and this is the process by which the characters are transmitted. So very basic points you have to keep in mind to go to the depth. So I am starting from the very basic level, okay. Hope this is clear. So now very important point, father of genetics. Father of genetics is, everyone knows it, Gregor Johann Mendel. Okay, and who termed the word genetics. The father of genetics and who termed the word genetics is not similar. It's William Bateson. Okay, so very often we think that father of genetics and the word term, like sometimes it's a very big confusion. Father of genetics or word term by who termed the word genetics. Everyone thinks that it's the same, but it's not the same. Just keep this point in mind, okay. So we will see about Mendel now. So Mendel was born in the year 1822 in Austria. So Mendel was born in 1822 in Austria. So he was not a biologist. He was a mathematician, and most surprisingly, he was a priest. Okay, so he started working with Pisum sativum, that is garden pea. He took 7 traits of Pisum sativum for his experiment. I will explain later what is traits. Okay, so he took 7 traits of Pisum sativum, and he started his work. He worked for 8 years. Okay, he worked for 8 years, and finally he concluded his experiments in 1865. Then it got published in the year 1866. Okay, although it was published, but the journal was not a very reputed one, but not a famous one. So I will discuss later the story. Okay, so Mendel started working with Pisum sativum, taking 7 traits. He worked for 8 years. Okay, and he concluded his experiment in 1865 and published his work in 1866. Although his work got published, but the journal wasn't a good one, or not a popular one. So his work wasn't recognized, and he died in the year 1884. So he died and his work wasn't recognized. Then after 16 years of his death, then 16 years after his death, that is 1900, okay, 3 scientists who were working independently rediscovered his work. The name of the 3 scientists are De Vries, Correns, and Teschermark. So the story continues. Mendel started working with Pisum sativum, and he concluded his experiments on 1865, and he published his work in 1866. Okay, so meanwhile his work was not recognized. Okay, and he died in 1884. After 16 years of his death in 1900, 3 scientists discovered his work, that is De Vries, Correns, and Teschermark, and this name of these 3 scientists is very important. Okay, I have referred like in my notes I have mentioned clearly about their location and every basic points. So go through this. Discovered his work, and they have find it very fascinating. Okay, so it was in 1900 only that his work got recognized. Okay, so coming to the next point, why Mendel's works weren't recognized? Why during his lifetime his work wasn't appreciated? Firstly, there are 3 points. reasons why Mendel's work wasn't recognized. Firstly, he was a mathematician, which I already discussed, not a biologist. So people did not trust him that he could do a good work in the field of biology. Secondly, his work was not published in a good journal. Okay, publication fault. Okay, thirdly, Mendel termed factors as discrete unit of inheritance. And common people could not relate to what was factors. So there are 3 points. First, he was a mathematician, not a biologist. So people did not trust a mathematician can work in the field of biology. His publication wasn't a nice one, which I have mentioned earlier. Mendel termed factors as the discrete units of inheritance, and common people could not relate what is factor, what is like, it was a big question mark. Okay, so these are the reasons why Mendel's work wasn't recognized. So coming to the next point, before Mendel, in the ancient period even, people in 8000 to 10,000 BC, people believed in variation come from sexual reproduction. Okay, this point is very important. So even before, far long back, 8000 to 10,000 BC, people still believe that variations were coming from sexual reproduction. How we get the conclusion? See, the Indian cow, which is known as Sahibal in Punjab, was produced or obtained by crossing, by artificial selection, artificial breeding, or selective breeding of Indian wild cows. So from the very ancient time, it was believed that variations come from sexual reproduction, and it was also experimented that we can take the example of Sahibal or Indian cow in Punjab, which was produced which is obtained by the artificial breeding or selective breeding of Indian wild cow. So we learned here about how Mendel experimented, like how Mendel began and how his work wasn't recognized. So now we will go to study some of the theories which were not. I know this introductory class is a bit boring, but from the next class onwards we will be like going to the depth, and we need to know the basics clearly. So there are some theories before or pre-Mendelian theories. Pre-Mendelian theories. So these theories were provided before the Mendel explained the inheritance, process of inheritance. Okay, so before it was to explain the transmission of characters from parents to offsprings. These theories are also known as theories of blending inheritance, because basically they gives us a view on mixing. So बहुत किता theories আছে যিবিলাকে আমাক প্ৰি মেণ্ডেলিয়ানৰ আগত যিবিলাক ট্ৰান্সমিশ্যন অফ কেৰেক্টাৰ্ছ হৈছিলে ফ্ৰম পেৰেণ্টছ টু অফস্প্ৰিং সেইবিলাকৰ ওপৰত আমাক কয় তো সেইবিলাক থিওৰিজক আমি কওঁ থিওৰিজ অফ ব্লেন্ডিং ইনহেৰিটেন্স তো ফাৰ্ষ্ট থিওৰি ইজ moist vapor theory, which was given by Pythagoras. Maths, right? Which was given by Pythagoras, and it explains that a certain part moist vapor from male gamete passes to female gamete during fertilization. And this gives rise to new embryo. So from the theory itself, from the name of the theory itself, we can make it moist vapor theory, which was given by Pythagoras. It explains that the certain moist vapor from the male gamete, keep in mind, from the male gamete passes to the female gamete during fertilization, and this gave rise to the embryo. It's very simple. And the next theory is, this is the first theory, okay, and the next theory is fluid theory. Which was given by Empedocles. And it proposed that each body part produce some fluid. The fluid of different body parts of two parent mixes and form new embryo. So simply it states that each body part produce some fluid of both the parents. The fluid of different body parts of the two parents mixes and form a new embryo. Okay, so I am writing this. I know it's a bit boring, but we have to tolerate it. So the next point is, that's the next theory is reproductive blood theory, which was given by Aristotle. Which was given by Aristotle. It states that male consists of pure reproductive blood while female produce impure reproductive blood. The two reproductive blood coagulates in the body of the female and thus give rise to the embryo. Okay, so male consists of pure reproductive blood and female produce impure reproductive blood. Both the blood coagulates in the body of the female and give rise to the embryo. That's it. So the first theory was moist vapor theory, second theory is fluid theory, and the third theory is reproductive blood theory given by Aristotle. Next theory is pre-formation theory. The fourth theory is pre-formation theory. Pre-formation theory was advocated by Malpighi, and was given by J. Swammerdam. Preformated theory, the name itself implies preformated. So according to this theory, there are some preformed organisms present, preformed organism present in the sperm or the egg, which is termed as homunculus. Homunculus. Homunculus, which give rise to the new individual. So preformation theory was advocated by Malpighi and was given by J. Swammerdam. It implies that there were some preformed organism present in the sperm or the egg, which is termed as homunculus. Okay, which give rise to the new organism. The fifth theory is theory of panspermia. Theory of pangenesis. It was originally given by Maupertuis. Maupertuis initially told that like there are some certain small substances which further give in all the parts of our body, in different parts of our body, which further gives rise to the new organism. Okay, which this theory was modified by Darwin. So Darwin postulated that. So Darwin gave the theory that all somatic cells of our body consist of gamules or pangin. And all these gamules or pangin collect in the gamete and pass to the new organism. Okay, so this is the theory of pangenesis, which is given by initially by Maupertuis and was further modified by Darwin. All the somatic cells of our body consist gamules or pangin, which move into the gamete and further give rise to new organism. And the last theory is the theory of epigenesis, which is given by K.F. Wolf. So theory of epigenesis was given by K.F. Wolf. It simply states that there is no preformed organism in our egg or sperm. Like, it contradicts the theory of preformation. Okay, there is no preformed organism in our sperm or egg. So theory of epigenesis was given by K.F. Wolf, and it indicates that there is no preformed organism in our sperm or egg, and our gametes consist of undifferentiated substances that give rise to new organism. So these are the 6 theories. Firstly, there was the moist vapor theory. Secondly, Secondly, fluid theory. Third was the reproductive blood theory, and fourth was the theory of pangenesis. Then the theory of epigenesis, and theory of epigenesis, theory of pangenesis, reproductive blood theory, and so these are the basic theories which we need to learn, which we need to know, not learn, it's which we need to know before going to the next part. So these are the theories of blending inheritance, but all these theories failed due to specific reasons. So coming to the reasons, the trait of sex does not blend. For example, in unisexual organism we don't get we either get a male or a female, it does not blend, and many a times we have seen that the new offsprings formed are the new offsprings formed don't have characters of their immediate parents, they have characters of their grandfathers, grandparents. Okay, so and you have often seen if there is a complexion, suppose male is fair in complex and female is dark in complex, then their offspring won't be intermediate complexion, they would be either fair complex or dark complex. So and another point is there, many a times there are some characters which are not which comes from ancestral, and this phenomenon is known as atavism. So some of you, very rarely someone can move their external ears or pinna, so it is a case of atavism. Okay, so I have mentioned in my notes in details the writing part. So today the lecture was a bit lengthy, a bit boring, so I would like to conclude by telling two more points, two important terminologies, that is character and trait. So character, so what is character in genetics? Character is defined as defined as morphological or physiological feature of the individual. तो मॉर्फोलॉजिकल और फिजियोलॉजिकल फीचर बोली कि कले आमी की गम पाओ इधर देखी बोले নহলে তুমি দেখিছা কি, ঠিক আছে, এক্সটার্নালি বা মর্ফোলজিক্যালি, ঠিক আছে। সাপোজ এটা প্লান্ট দেখিলো, প্লান্টৰ মই কম হাইট ইজ দ্য ক্যারেক্টার। ওকে, so is defined as the morphological or the physical feature of a individual. তো ক্যারেক্টারত আহিব প্লান্ট হাইট, ঠিক আছে। তো ইয়াৰ পৰা ৰেফাৰেন্স কৰি আমি এটা বস্তু আকু শিকিম, এটো হল ট্ৰেট। So character is clear, just the morphological or physiological feature of the individual. তো trait মানে কি হয়? Distinguishable feature of a character. So আমি অলপ আগতে চালো প্লান্ট হাইট। প্লান্ট হাইটটো কেনেকুৱা হ'ব পাৰে? ইদাৰ টল হ'ব পাৰে, নহলে শৰ্ট হ'ব পাৰে। তো টল নহলে বা শৰ্ট, ইদাৰ আমি শৰ্ট কওঁ নহলে আমি ডৱাৰ্ফ বুলি কওঁ। তো চোৱা কি ক্যাৰেক্টাৰ হল প্লান্ট হাইট আৰু টল আৰু ডৱাৰ্ফ হল সিহঁতৰ ট্ৰেটস। ইজ ইট ক্লিয়াৰ? তো ক্যাৰেক্টাৰৰ যিবিলাক ডিষ্টিংগুইশেবল ফিচাৰ হয় অফ আ ক্যাৰেক্টাৰ ইজ নোন এজ ট্ৰেট। So it is very important कि तुम्हारे बुझी पा कैरेक्टर काक कय ट्रेट काक कय, बिकज এই গোটেই চ্যাপ্টাৰটোত মই বহুত টাইম ক্যাৰেক্টাৰ ট্ৰেট আৰু কেইটামান টাৰ্মিনোলজি আছে which I will discuss in my next class, and today's lecture was very introductory, so a bit not bit interesting even, like so next class opera we will go into the depth, and because basics নাজানাকে আমি কুমাব নোৱাৰো ন, তো আমি বেসিক জানিব লাগিব। So okay, so thank you class.